I'd like to introduce the wonderful Stephenson family, Riley, Amy and Jason, to talk a little bit about their son Lachie, what a beautiful spirit he was, and how that story should, will and can drive us into the future. So Amy, come on up.
New Year's Day has always signalled new beginnings and fresh starts. This year at 6:47 p.m, it changed for us forever. Our son, Lachlan Boyd Stephenson, lost his battle with brain cancer. It was a fight that he gave everything to, but it was just too big for him to win. Lach was a fit and healthy 19-year-old who was diagnosed with a diffuse midline glioma in June last year. He was playing basketball and footy one day and feeling nauseous and vomiting randomly the next. He was a young man who didn't have a medical history. He was never sick and very active. How could this be? Lach endured surgery, radiation, and a clinical trial, but was still only given a 1% chance of survival. Upon diagnosis, we were told that Lach would improve slightly after radiation. This was called the honeymoon period, but we should prepare ourselves as his tumour would probably grow back in a more aggressive state and that Lach should then enjoy life. We just didn't understand. We live in a first world country. How can we be given a 1% chance of survival? This was the same chance that Neil Armstrong's daughter was given in 1962, 60 years ago. As hard as these stats were to take in, we chose to focus on the fact that someone had to be in that 1% category, and there was no reason that it couldn't be Lach. We were trying so hard not to be deterred, working towards that 1% at all times. Lach's medical oncologist, Dr. Jim Whittle, tried regularly to have hard conversations with us, as he called them. He tried so courteously to prepare us for different scenarios, but Lach just wouldn't buy what he was selling. Lach's tumour was on his brainstem. He lost the ability to walk freely and his vision was impaired, but he was still very much with it. This was the most devastating thing to watch. His beautiful and healthy body was failing him. He knew it, and there was nothing that anybody could do about it. Despite all the setbacks, Lach remained optimistic, didn't complain once, and never asked why me. He continued to comfort those around him and even kept his sense of humour. Lach's tumour grew back very quickly, just like they said it would. He passed away at home, surrounded by family on New Year's Day this year, 7 months to the day from his first MRI. The tumour took Lach's balance, coordination, vision, speech, the ability to swallow, and then breathe. People always say, it'll never happen to me. I know this because I was one of those people. I've since learnt not to be so naive. Lach's journey shows that brain cancer doesn't discriminate. Brain cancer is one of the biggest killers in our children and also kills more people under 40 than any other cancer. It is one that receives very little funding, ultimately resulting in very limited research. There have been very few advances in 60 years, and if we continue to struggle to fund research, nothing will ever change. We were honoured to set up a fundraiser for the Brain Cancer Centre in Lach's name only 3 days after he passed away. Our initial goal of $5,000 was reached within a few hours. We increased our goal to $20,000, which we surpassed in 3 days, which was the day of Lach's funeral. We then increased our goal to $50,000, which we have recently smashed shortly after acknowledging Lach's 3-month anniversary. This in itself tells you exactly what kind of person Locke was. How many people can raise 50,000 in 3 months? Locke would be honoured, yet really embarrassed at the fuss of such a milestone. He would also be so proud to put his name and his experiences to something that has the potential of becoming so positive. We feel robbed of a life that we created, cheated of so many things that we will now experience without our son, and failed by the lack of funding and improvements in survival for this shocking disease. Currently, there is no prevention or cure for brain cancer, but together we can work collaboratively so that one day it is not classed as terminal and patients in the future will at least have hope. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jason.
And I'm Amy Stephenson, and this is our son's journey with brain cancer. Locke was 19 when he was diagnosed with a diffuse midline glioma and passed away on New Year's Day when he was 20 years old.
Locke was a very fun-loving kid, just very easy. Nothing was ever a hassle with him. He just went with the flow. He loved sport. Basketball was probably his passion.
He got up one Monday morning and was going to work and said to me, "Mum, I've just had a spew," because he was coming down to say goodbye. And I said, "Oh, that's a bit odd. How are you feeling?" And he says, "No, I'm all right." I said, "Okay, all right, see how you go. Have a good day." Tuesday morning he got up and said, "Mum, I've just had a spew again." I said, "Oh, how'd you go yesterday? All right?" And he goes, Yep, all fine." I said, "All right, just gauge it, Friday morning he got up and he says, "Mum, I just don't think I can go to work. I just feel not very well." And I said, "All right." I said, "If you're going to have a sick day, then you better get a doctor's appointment, go and get checked out." So the doctor suggested he go for an MRI just to rule out any nasties, he said. So he went for the MRI on the 1st of June, which was the following Tuesday, and they obviously picked something up in the MRI. They'd found a 2.4 centimetre lesion on his cerebellum. And that was like, whew, what, where, how? And as soon as they left the room, he looked at me and he says, "Mum, is that cancer?" And at that point I said to him, no, one step at a time. We met at the Royal Children's with Dr. Jim Whittle and Dr. Jordan Hansford. And at that point they had told us that it was a diffuse midline glioma and that Locke had had a good surgery. His surgeon had done a really good job and they had removed 95% of his tumour. He was to have radiation and he would improve slightly after radiation, but there was a fairly good chance that his tumour would come back in a more aggressive state. And at that point, Locke should enjoy life because there's not much more that they could do. I was shocked. It's like, how can that be? We're in the 21st century. How can you be telling me that I have a fit and healthy 19-year-old that has to enjoy life? Even the day he passed away, our GP called in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and he'd been here the night before and helped Locke with some pain meds and stuff. And he said to Locke, he walked into the bedroom and, "Hey Locke, how you feeling? You're looking good today." And Locke looked at him and said, "Yep, going well, getting better." He passed away 10 hours later. We're not making any advances without research. There has to be what Lach was offered treatment-wise. It was the same thing that kids were offered 60 years ago. Nothing will change if we can't fund the research. And we'd really love to save other families from what we're going through. There are many other cancers out there today. The survival rate has been improved so much. You're looking at 48% plus, or 80% for others. That's just phenomenal. However, brain cancer is still, some brain cancers are still at 1%. We'd love to see a day where brain cancer isn't classed as terminal. We had lots of hopes and dreams for Lach. We would have enjoyed a 21st. And then a wedding. And I'm sure there would have been kids, even though we always said I'm never having kids. And I'm never moving out.
Purchase a first house, things like that.
Yeah.